On Network Africa, Burkina Faso's President Marc Christian Kabore declares 2 days of national mourning following 2 separate attacks in Samatenga province. A boat capsized in Western Democratic Republic of Congo leaves 15 people dead. Plus, Norway pledges to take 600 refugees, including Libyan evacuees from Rwanda. Hello and welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Layo Adegoke. We begin in Burkina Faso, where President Marc Christian Kabore has declared 2 days of national mourning beginning Wednesday after 2 separate attacks killed at least 36 people in Samatenga province. The militants first attacked Nagraogo market, killing 32 people and setting the market on fire. According to the government, they then attacked Alamu and killed 4 more people. Parliament on Tuesday passed a bill allowing civilian volunteers to join the fight against Islamist militants in the country. Jihadist violence has been escalating in Burkina Faso, which has been under a rolling state of emergency since January 2018. 7 people were killed on 7th January after gunmen attacked villages in the rural commune of Pisilla in the same region. At least 15 people have died after a boat capsized in a lake in Western Democratic Republic of Congo. Government officials say more people are missing from Monday's accident in Lake Mai Ndombe. The cause of the accident is not yet known. The vessel is said to be carrying around 30 people who were returning from a funeral 35 kilometers away. In May 2019, at least 45 people died in the lake after a boat that was carrying more than 400 people sank. Now let's get more on this story from a journalist in the DRC, Biobe Abdu. Thank you for speaking to us. Such a sad incident today, yet another boat capsized. Do we know what caused this accident? Because, boat accidents are frequent in the country, almost becoming a norm. Why is this so?
Information that we took says that the boat had 150 people on board, and causing at least 13 deaths and 98 survivors, according to the chief of locality, Mr. Constant Bulamba, who specifies that among the bodies recovered from the waters, 12 of them were identified, and research is continuing to find other bodies. But I can say that the area that the accident took place is not covered by the networks or communication. So it's very difficult to us to find some people there who can say what is going on right now. The boat accident is because of non-compliance with navigation standards and the age of boat, because many people are using the old boat and many are regularly overloaded and without control of the marine agent.
Right. In all of this, what comments have we gotten from the government, with regards to this accident? And also, how are the people reacting to this?
Yes, Ayo. As I said long before, the chief of the village said that research are continuing to find other bodies. There are no official declaration has already been made from the central government in Kinshasa. Yes, of course, people have commented a lot of, especially on the number of passengers, which was not really in the capacity of the boat. And the majority want to see the justice follow up, and if maybe the owner to be sanctioned.
All right, there, Biobe Abdu, DRC journalist. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Moving on to the crisis in Libya, Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni is blaming African countries for failing to protect Libya against military intervention by the United States and a NATO-led coalition in March 2011. You would recall that in 2011, that was the year of the toppling of longtime leader Muammar Gaddafi. Now, President Museveni said that African countries should have put up a military resistance and should have not allowed Western countries to attack Libya. He adds that Africa tried diplomatically but could have intervened even militarily. Now, President Museveni also termed as tokenism the invitation of African states to the Berlin summit that was held last week. The summit was attended by Russia's President Vladimir Putin, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, French President Emmanuel Macron, and UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Meanwhile, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres is urging Libya's warring sides to join foreign leaders in finding a diplomatic solution to the civil war. Their call follows Sunday's summit in Berlin, where world leaders pledged to end foreign meddling and help stop the fighting.
The first time possible to sit around the table, all the is a major step. It was for the first time possible to sit around the table all those countries that have a direct or indirect influence in relation to the conflict and to commit them to non-interference, to commit them to support a ceasefire, to commit them to the arms embargo, to commit them to support the political process, no violations of international humanitarian law or human rights law, to commit them to support the reform of the economic and security institutions of the country is, of course, extremely important. But this is just the beginning.
Migrants trying to cross to Europe should first be assessed on African soil. That's according to former Norwegian Minister of Justice Joran Kalmyr as he visited a UNHCR transit center of migrants evacuated from Libya as the Nordic pledged to take 600 refugees including evacuees from Rwanda. Now, thousands of African migrants who failed to cross the Mediterranean Sea and prone to ordeal of human smuggling in Libya remain in dangerous detention centers in the conflict-torn nation. UNHCR said that other European countries like France, Sweden had pledged to take evacuees from Libya, a move that comes after critics had accused Europe of seeking a solution to migrants dangerously crossing the sea by sending them to transit centers in Rwanda and Niger. Ghanaians will be heading to the polls in November or December of this year, but some citizens are protesting against the planned new voters' register. Hundreds of demonstrators took to the streets of Kumasi in Ghana on Tuesday to show their displeasure. The protesters, made up of opposition party supporters, say that the Electoral Commission's plan is a ploy to manipulate the results of upcoming elections in favor of the governing New Patriotic Party. They view the cost of the new voters' register, which stands at $70 million, a waste of public funds. However, the Electoral Commission officials insist the current register is no longer fit for purpose. Protesters say similar demonstrations will take place in the coming weeks in the capital, Accra. Well, let's speak to Beatrice Senaju. She's a Ghanaian journalist and she joins us live from Accra. Hello, Beatrice. Good to see you. Now, talk to us about Tuesday's protest. Help us understand the demands of the protesters.
All right, thank you very much, Lyle, for the opportunity given me. The opposition party, the National Democratic Congress, have been up in arms with the Electoral Commission over new voters' ID registration that they needed to do. And they believe that pumping so much money in doing the registration will cost the country or will cost the public purse. And they believe that we should use the old registration or the data that we have rather than starting it all over again, because if we start it all over again, it is going to affect the public purse. And they also believe that it is the easiest way of trying to manipulate the register for the ruling New Patriotic Party. So these and many other things are some of the things they are fighting against.
Right. Did the Electoral Commission give any reason for the proposed change to the voters' register?
Yes, they said absence of checks and balances in the system to determine if some records were missing, and including the fact that none of the EC IT staff were trained on the new machines that will be used, that is BVMs. And the commission states that the hardware components of the BVMs cannot be upgraded as against those the decision to publish a new voter register, as those people are suggesting. But they are also saying that should the EC go ahead to acquire the new component without changing the software, the system might crash the election management body. And the commission said it does not intend to discard all previous data. Rather, the EC is saying that they intend to use the existing data of voters during the registration of voters into the new voters register. So this means that the existing voters register will not have to go through the same processes as the new one.
All right then, Beatrice Sinaju, thank you so much for joining us. Ghanaian journalist joining us from Accra. We do hope everything pans out before election time. Moving on, the Horn of Africa is still battling with locust invasion as the plague continues to devastate crops in the Somali region and Ethiopia. The swarms have also spread from Ethiopia and Somalia into eastern and northern Kenya, threatening food production.
Ethiopian farmer Ahmed Ibrahim battled empty water bottles at a swarm of desert locusts, the size of his palms, that were devouring his field of cat, the mildly narcotic leaf that is his family's main source of income.
The locusts arrived this morning. They are causing damage to my cat farms, the grass and the vegetation on my land. This will render the farm useless and make us vulnerable to drought and hunger.
The Food and Agriculture Organization have said that scenes like this are happening across the Horn of Africa, where swarms of desert locusts have damaged tens of thousands of hectares so far. According to the FAO, breeding is continuing on both sides of the Red Sea, in Sudan and Eritrea, and in Saudi Arabia and Yemen. Kenya's then agriculture minister said the swarms spread from Ethiopia and Somalia into eastern and northern Kenya last week, threatening food production and the economy.
We're telling the farmers not to be worried. They are safe. They have been able to contain the locusts in the pastoralist areas, clearing them in this zone, and therefore there's no cause for alarm. Their farms are safe. They should just concentrate on their normal day-to-day work. There should be no panic at all.
Kenya began aerial spraying in the north on January the 4th to head off the invasion. The FAO estimates one swamp in Kenya to be 40 kilometers wide by 60 kilometers long. It is said to be the worst locust plague since 1954.
To security matters, back here in Nigeria, the theater commander of Operation Lafia Dole, Major General Olusegun Adeniyi, is warning motorists against submitting themselves for checks at unauthorized checkpoints on the Maiduguri-Damaturu highway. Major General Adeniyi's warning is coming on the heels of increased attacks on the troubled route, the only access road linking Borno to other parts of the country. The recent terror has thrown travelers and commercial motorists into panic and the fear of the unknown, demanding for military escorts as the only guarantee for their safety on that route.
Following the spate of recent attacks and kidnappings by Boko Haram insurgents on the Maiduguri-Damaturu highway, residents and commuters raised concern over the level of insecurity in the area. Some have now taken to social media to pour their frustration and seek the intervention of the federal government. Transport workers say passengers are hard to come by these days due to fear of attacks on the highway.
You may have that Boko Haram will come twice in a day or 3 times a day. Due to that, many of our passengers are not coming out for traveling. We have a shortage of passengers on this road. Everybody is fearing of moving from one place to another. Even this particular Damaturu, they cannot afford to.
While some travelers now prefer to bear the cost of air travels for their safety, others making short-distance trips are left with no choice but to ply the dangerous route and hope for the best.
The difficulty here is that the route is not even secure. And the danger is that we do not know what will happen.
But the theatre commander of Operation Lafia Dole has a warning for the insurgents operating on the highway as he reiterates the army's commitment to securing lives and property.
Operation Lafia Dole, under the guidance of the military appropriate superior authorities, is able, capable, and has put in strategies. Maiduguri Damaturu Road is safe.
He asks commuters to be wary of fake checkpoints, as only 5 designated checkpoints are approved on the route.
I have ordered that from Kukareta to Ingentilo here, there will be checkpoints, but nobody will be stopping people except in the towns.
The desire of the residents and commuters is to move freely and carry on with their normal lives. But that is dependent on how fast the lingering security challenges in the area are resolved.
Still ahead on the program. 17 lions and tigers rescued from captivity arrive at a sanctuary in South Africa. Please stay with us.